Robert Rayleigh, and this is Philip Hawley, and our resolve is the United States should significantly increase its use of nuclear energy, and we are con. We all know what happened in Chernobyl in 1986, where there was an accident with nuclear power plants there. Should I do a definition? Okay. The Nuclear Regulation Commission is too lax about safety. Nuclear reactors make tons of nuclear waste. And finally, they make an easy target for terrorist activity. A lot of people might consider nuclear power to be cleaner because it is cleaner and produces more power, but there's more to that than that because there are safety and nuclear waste, finally securing issues, and that come along with that. Nuclear power is dangerous and is not worth the risk. The Nuclear Regulation Commission does not enforce safety regulations enough. Should I quote the evidence?
Nice.
Alright. The evidence is that meanwhile critics charge that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is too lax about safety.
I'm the QR researcher.
Oh, it's from the core researcher. The Nuclear Regulation Commission does not enforce safety regulations.
Starting with your sound.
Okay, go.
Yeah, you gotta do all the too much ways.
Accidents can always happen. No matter how long a percentage there might be, accidents can happen. Another quote from, no matter how small the probability of disasters can happen, and this is from a website called NRS something, NIRS. Accidents can always happen. Nuclear reactors make tons of nuclear waste create lots of dangerous radioactivity. Nuclear power is waste is deadly, causes cancer and genetic mutations. Every nuclear power plant makes massive amounts of radioactive waste. Nuclear power plants. Waste is deadly, causes cancer and genetic mutation. There is no permanent way to contain it. Create lots of dangerous radioactive material. Nuclear power as a rule, a nuclear power plant creates 20 metric tons of nuclear fuel per year. When you consider each nuclear plant on Earth, you will find that the number jumps to approximately 2,000 metric tons a year. This is from conservenergyfuture.com. Nuclear power plants create tons of radioactive waste. The tender. Finally, make an easy target for terrorist activity because of their potential mass destruction. Nuclear power stations are a major target for terrorists. The 9/11 atrocity.
Time. Keep going. Time, but keep going.
You can finish your sentence.
I lost my. Okay, would be tiny by comparison.
Thank you.
My name is Kyle Wagner. I'll be discussing why the United States should rely on nuclear energy more. So my first contention is talking about the waste it produces. First off, the waste it produces, it can be reused. About 97% of it can be reused, with leaving only 3% of it needing to be stored. And some of that percent is plutonium that can't be really made into weapons, but into other types of fuel. The way to store it is you need to put it into a containment that consists of borosilicate glass sealed in a corrosive resistant container, surrounded with bentonite clay, and finally buried deep beneath underground. It has to stay in this container for about 40 to 50 years, so 1 out of the 1,000th of its radioactivity can decay, making it much more safe for the environment. And a place that serves a place that can be buried for this is a place called Yucca Mountain. It can serve as a burial place for over 1 million years. And the Yucca Mountain was designed for us to observe and, it was designed for us to observe and record what waste does as it decays. Secondly, my second contention is how little risk it poses to the environment, the economy, and to people's lives. First off, coal energy costs about 4.51 cents per kilowatt, while compared to nuclear energy, 0.76 cents for every kilowatt. And for actually just refueling the nuclear reactor only costs $1,880. And actually physically, and for people, actually physically working in the nuclear power plant only reduces your life by 0.002%. And that's basically just 1 hour off your life, compared to burning coal, which is 3 to 40 days. And to talk about the nuclear meltdowns, 2 out of every 3 nuclear meltdowns result in 0 deaths. 1 in 100,000 nuclear meltdowns result in 50,000 deaths. But compared to air pollution, they cause 20,000 deaths per year, and that's about 25 nuclear meltdowns per year. Finally, there's also the problem with the environment. The main thing I'm going to be working on is water pollution, which happens when you mine the uranium. The process of mining uranium usually takes water, and there's a lot of heavy metals in that water. Luckily, they store the water in retention ponds, and they wait for the water to dissolve, leaving all the heavy metals and dangerous chemicals in the retention pond. They put these in containers, and then they ship them off to be reused. What's my time?
7:40. So you have like 30 seconds left. 30 seconds.
Okay. To talk about the terrorist option, there's already tons of nuclear power plants in operation today, and none of them have been attacked. And also, there's also a lot of other places terrorists can attack, such as Twin Towers, sadly, or government buildings.
What contention are you in?
This is just refuting their
Time.
Which one?
none of that anymore.
Your time is up.
Contention, so who's attacking your, one of their contentions?
Yeah, I'm just pointing out, you have to tell me where you're,
Alright,
or I can't write it down.
Your time is up.
okay, and
Yeah, we'll get to
Okay, Crossfire.
Yeah.
Robert, you need to stand up, we have to go. 3 minutes, begin.
can I see your evidence for the nuclear power plants being too lax in their safety? You can ask the question and then there you go. Oh, me? Oh, sorry.
No, I don't.
No.
There you go. Okay, Robert, your turn.
Do you have evidence for your one claim for that there is the total list for the just in general, that's right.
guys asking for, evidence rather than asking questions about their evidence. Kyle, your turn.
Regarding your terrorist activity, what specifically would they do to cause the meltdown?
Well, like concussions and I'm not saying that hasn't happened before where a plane crashed into something. But then again, I guess,
Your turn.
oh, my turn. There's only been, you said there's 2 out of 3 where there's no human loss, right? During an accident. Well, there's only been 3 so far.
3 that we know of.
Yeah, here's Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and Fukushima.
Mhm.
Well, there's bound to be more that's gonna happen, so I'm sure those numbers will change, am I correct?
Maybe. They could also go down as well.
Oh, you never know.
I don't have any further questions.
Me either.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's get going. We have to stand up. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Phil Colley, and my opponent said that 3% of the waste can be, or can't be reused. And so that the waste gets stored, and it's a very, very complicated process that probably costs a whole lot of money to do each time. And he said there's little risk, but as we know, there's still been 3 nuclear power plants meltdowns that have happened over the years. In Chernobyl, which was very disgusting in multiple ways. And he said there were also nuclear power plants meltdowns didn't cost as many lives. Well, they still cost lives. That's the problem. No matter, we're still costing human lives, and that's the problem with that. And he said none of our nuclear power plants have been attacked so far. Well, if we build a whole lot more, isn't that going to make it a way easier target? I think terrorists are going to be way more enthusiastic about attacking those, because those would be even more devastating than 9/11, because there'd be such a radiation leak. And then nuclear power plants still create that waste that is still really hard to store and complicated. And for and so they're too lax about safety because these things can still happen. And if there's only been 3 nuclear power meltdowns compared to what we have now, well, if you times what we have now by how many they want to build, that will make it so we'll have a nuclear power plant meltdown every decade, once every decade. As a study shown, or as a one website we have that, it's over there. I don't know what that one is. And for these reasons and more, I encourage you to vote con.
Hi, my name is Nathan, and my opponent claims that Chernobyl was a major accident, but the fact of the matter is that was a human error not caused by any faulty technological advancements. They also claim that the NRC is lax on safety, but that is merely an opinion, that is not a fact. I mean, some people could very well sit here and think that the NRC does a fine job in enforcing safety. And they also claim that terrorist activity building more nuclear plants will in fact increase terrorists wanting to bomb them. But we already have plenty of nuclear plants across America, and we don't see planes flying every other day trying to bomb the free plant in Monroe. So those 3 points are simply not true. And as we have already stated, 97% of uranium can be reused, and the 3% that cannot be reused are safely stored in sites, and our government has donated lots and lots and much money to make sure that uranium is stored and that it does not leak into the environment. And while it is true that there are small amounts of uranium and plutonium that do leak into the environment, but the amount is simply so small that it really does not have much of an effect. I mean, you don't see mutant humanoids and you don't see mutant rabbits running around every other day in Monroe because Fermi's not leaking a bunch of radiation. And while nuclear plant, it can be, as I have already stated, it can be stored in it. When you build concrete cylinders with the glass that Kyle was talking about, they can be stored safely for 40 to 50 years. And after this 40 to 50 years, only 1/1000th of the radioactivity remains after the 40 to 50 year containment, in which case you have to rebuild the glass container in which it is being stored. Nuclear energy is a lot cheaper than coal, so, and they also were insulting about, they were also containing that our building nuclear energy and creating plants is very expensive, but if you want to build, wind turbines, if you want to harness energy with other methods, that is also extremely expensive. So no matter no matter where you want to go with the energy debate, there's always going to be some sort of cost associated with this. And the fact of the matter is, with the nuclear meltdowns, Chernobyl was the only one that cost lives. Fukushima did not kill anybody, and as far as I know, I don't think the other one did either. So, and there are meltdowns, but most of them are very, very small, and with current scientific methods, they are normally easily contained. And as I said, Chernobyl is a human error, not a technological error. And so runoff from uranium and whatever is, the government builds retention ponds so that they do not infect the environment, and the infected water evaporates, leaving the dangerous heavy metals at the bottom like sediment, and they are therefore collected and stored in canisters. So in conclusion, nuclear energy does have risk to it, but every other energy source is going to have some risk to it too. If there's no wind, you can't harvest wind energy, so there's no, everything has its flaws in it when it comes to the energy debate. But the waste can be reused by using modern technology, which has become extremely advanced over the years, and taking the right precaution to store the waste in safe places. It can present little threat to our society. And nuclear energy is not only beneficial to the environment, but it also poses less risk to human health than the current of generating electricity. So I hope it is clear that nuclear energy is, I encourage you very heavily to vote pro for nuclear energy. And how much time do I have left?
36 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I would go back to the points that they made about the NRS being like on safety regulations. There are very many safety regulations. Nuclear power plants are continually inspected, and they're mandated to continually update the technology. And as for the terrorist activity, it's an absolutely ridiculous argument from the fact that you just don't see ISIS and Al-Qaeda coming in to bomb nuclear power. I mean, they're not they could also bomb the Pentagon, they could bomb the White House. But the fact of the matter is, they don't do it. And accidents do, okay.
Okay, class fighters, don't stand up.
Pretty glad we're going now.
Time is beginning now.
Okay. You said that it was a human error that caused that and one nuclear meltdown. Well, didn't it still cause lives? Even if it is a human error, didn't that still cause us lives?
It caused lives, but we are 29 years into the future where the fact that the technological knowledge of nuclear energy now is much better than it was back in 1986. Now, to your point of the NRS not enforcing safety measures, isn't that merely an opinion that is simply not fact? Your whole entire contention is predicated on the fact that the NRS does not enforce safety regulations. So that is merely an opinion, that there's no fact based on that whatsoever, and so is the fact of terrorism that you would be bombing plants, because we already have many, many, many nuclear plants, and you do not see them being bombed on a daily basis.
Well, if you made more, then they're sure as hell gonna make a better target.
But the fact of the matter is, you already have so many, if they wanted to bomb them, they would have already bombed them. I mean, the Fermi plant would have already exploded, but the fact of the matter is it has not. They're not, terrorists are more things to be concerned about than bombing a nuclear power plant. And you also claim that nuclear energy is extremely expensive, but isn't it also true that for any other form of energy that there would be massive amounts of costs associated with it, with wind energy, solar energy, because you'd have to pay for the creation of the solar panels, you'd have to pay for building wind turbines, which are really expensive, and there is no guarantee that that would even work. Because you're not gonna put a bunch of solar panels up in Antarctica because there's no sun, so you can't generate any energy.
They need energy down in Antarctica.
Everybody needs energy, Philip. But
They need it down in Antarctica.
it's a point.
Please, quiet please.
The scientists that live and research things in Antarctica, they need energy. They're not gonna go walking around like a bunch of premature Eskimos. But by the same token, if you install other forms, if you install such as a wind energy or a wind turbine to generate wind energy, that's simply in an area where there is no wind. Nuclear energy offers the most, because you can do it. The technology is currently in place to do it. I mean, if you wanna go to a fossil fuel alternative, the other options, simply there's a chance that they will not work. You have a sure thing in the bag instead of taking a chance.
They're also safer because there's less of a chance of an accident happening that can kill lots of people.
Hey, you cannot do that.
Okay.
Plus, energy is stored from when the sun is out and when the wind is moving.
Okay.
Suck it.
Okay, so the chance of accidents.
Time. Robert, 2 minutes. You want prep time? This would be good time for you. How much?
2 minutes.
You have 2 minutes total. Yep. Guys, you need to keep it down so that they can converse. Hey, Robert, Philip, do you want more time?
would still like to question whether or not the, I just wanna know very clearly what the definition in your opinion, what human error is versus technological error. I mean, yeah, it's human error, they make mistakes, but also for people, it costs lots of money, and you wrote 4 letters. Alright. And still, anything that, if it's a human problem or a human if it's still like a human, if it's a human issue, then, well, obviously it's a human issue because humans built the plants, they designed them, and anything that pretty much humans make can either be destroyed or corrupted. And for it to leak for 40 to 50 years, or for it to change the plant, it takes 40 to 50 years for it to leak, right? To eliminate. Why does it say leak?
Hey guys, you are not supposed to discuss anything during the debate while you're speaking. Hubbard, can you restate your 3 contentions, please?
Right, sure. Alright.
Okay. So, next speaker is Kyle. Here we go, 2 minutes.
I'm going to summarize basically my entire speech. I'm going to focus mainly on my second contention because it's the most broad. Nuclear energy is cheaper compared to most forms of energy. Sure, wind and solar are basically free, but the installation price is still very pricey, not to mention the replacement of the panels and the wind turbines at times. The refueling cost is a little bit pricey, $1,880 every cycle isn't anything to laugh at, but it's still very cheap compared to the mining costs of coal. The life expectancy does reduce a little bit, but it's literally just 1 hour, and there are multiple exercises one can do to get that exercise back, to get that 1 hour of their life back. And finally, I think it's important that we define what a meltdown is. It's not an explosion that encompasses a certain radius. A meltdown is basically the core of a reactor literally just catches on fire and just spews uranium everywhere. So all you really need is a big fleet of firefighters to put the fire out before anything actually happens. Finally, there is some environmental risks such as leakage and containment breaches, but honestly, it's the best we can do for something this dangerous. And there are some other, there's a lot more dangerous things that sure aren't present right now, but later down the line will affect society, such as coal and its reduction of life. I don't want to get political, but global warming and its destruction of habitat with the mountains. What's my time? How much time do I have left?
1 second.
Okay.
Okay, Grand Crossfire. Hey guys, don't forget that I told you you should bring your phone up with you and time yourselves and then you can gauge it. Okay? Alright, Grand Crossfire, stay seated and you have 3 minutes, the time has begun.
Robert, to answer your question, what we define as human and technological error is technological error is where there's an error in the code of the program that's been preset, and there's some form of glitch that happens that causes the accident. Human error is when someone's not really paying attention and is just going on quote-unquote autopilot throughout the entire day without taking the correct safety precautions that the system expects to happen,
So human stupidity.
basically.
Chernobyl, yes, Chernobyl was, the reason why Chernobyl melted down was, it was a routine safety inspection and some idiot didn't know what the heck he was doing and caused the technology to just completely fail. It was not anything to do with the technology, had the guy actually known what he was doing and received the proper safety training.
Isn't there always a human error factor about it?
Okay, there is, yes, there is a human error, but the factor is so minute, there's also a minute factor that a meteorite could come crashing through and kill all of us, does not mean it's gonna happen. The bottom line is that in 20 years, almost in 30 years, the technological knowledge that we have increased from studying nuclear energy and from the multiple billions of dollars that the government has invested is worlds ahead of the knowledge that we had back in 1986 when Chernobyl exploded. And there is a reason why that we don't have major meltdowns every day. America has never had a major meltdown in the continental United States.
What if a natural disaster happens?
What, if not nuclear energy, what energy source do you think would be the best all around?
Solar and wind energy have both been increasing very much in the recent technological advancements.
So tell me this though,
Hang
if,
on, instant five and Robert Phillips.
What if a natural disaster happens to at least one of the nuclear plants? I know we probably can't really.
Then you take the necessary safety precautions to ensure that the nuclear meltdown doesn't happen. While Fukushima did release some radiation and did kill some firefighters, it was very contained, it didn't spread out through the entire city, which they were very responsible of and quick acting. And for wind and solar, what do you do when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing?
That's when we'll die, dude.
That's
The sun doesn't shine, we're gonna die.
I mean when it's cloudy and there's no wind.
That's when the wind turbines and the solar panels store the energy for use at a later time.
Well, okay. What was your question? What's your question?
Next time. Speaker number 3, you are up. You have 2 minutes. You guys still have 2 minutes of prep time. Would you like to use any? Nathan and Kyle, are you going to be using prep time?
yeah, we'll take a minute.
Okay.
So we'll go first before we arrange for the for the.
Okay, you said that, my opponent said that, nuclear power costs less. Well, it costs less in the sense of for government instead of private ownership, because you can have private ownership of solar panels and technically wind turbines. And so it's not just a matter of cheaper for the government, it could be cheaper for private ownership if they don't wanna buy the power from the government and pay their prices. And he said, and when you're storing nuclear waste, it can still leak. And it doesn't, and it only has low levels of radiation after 40 or 50 years of being stored. And that's the whole time it could leak. And then, there's always a factor of human error. That means it could always, there's always that problem. And it could, and that's always a factor that could happen. Well, if it's a factor that could happen, then that means there's still a chance that human error could come to a factor and have another nuclear meltdown, nuclear reactor meltdown. And then terrorists could still attack them because they're more promising. There's more of them. If they make more of them, they're an easier target to get. They could attack them basically as many as they wanted all at the same time, and easily create havoc in the U.S. and spilling radiation everywhere, and there wouldn't be enough people to stop it at that point. And it still costs lives when accidents happen, and there's always that chance. And so we can't take that risk. So I hope you vote con.
So, David, you do have 1 minute and some time left.
No, we're good. Alright. So, back to the original point, my opponent claims that wind and solar energy can be produced by private ownership, but the fact of the matter is hardly any people are currently have wind and solar and nobody has a giant wind turbine in their backyard, and hardly any people have solar energy. And the fact of the matter is nuclear energy is guaranteed to provide energy for human consumption, human needs. Wind and solar energy is a risk, and if you don't, it's simple as if there's no wind, there's no sunlight, you can't produce the energy, and therefore, how are we going to be able to produce the basic necessities of life? And the terrorist argument is based purely on opinion. There's been absolutely no study to confirm on any level that terrorists want to bomb any of America's nuclear power plants, and we do have. The Pentagon would monitor the skies, and if a terrorist plane, and a plane that they did not know entered American airspace, they would simply chase it or knock it down. And we already have plenty of nuclear power plants. His argument that if we build more, they're going to want to bomb more is simply absolute, you know what, in the fact that there is already so many plants, if they wanted to build them, they would have already bombed them a long time ago. So our contentions, to restate our contentions, are that 97% of uranium's waste can be reused using various other forms to help humans with our daily energy consumption needs. And the 3% that cannot be used is safely stored in various governmental sites, such as Yucca Mountain. And so we can keep nuclear waste in concrete cylinders for 40 to 50 years, and only 1/1000th of the radioactivity remains after the 40 to 50 year containment, which is a very, very, very minute amount. And while nuclear energy does create, there are small chances it does create very minimum nuclear waste. But, am I done?
Finish.
The bottom line is that any energy source is going to have its problems, and it does leak nuclear waste, but you don't hear about it, and it leaks such small amounts you do not hear about it in the news every day. You don't hear, people in Monroe live right next door to a giant Fermi plant which produces nuclear energy, but you don't hear problems with them every other day. So,
So vote what?
oh God, God is the way to go.
You're pro. I support that, man.
Go pro, please.
Vote con.